What tell me
about what is it gonna be? Alright, let's try and do it in one go this time.
All right.
Hello!
Welcome to Overthink This podcast. My name is Kyle.
My name's Macy.
And here we are.
It's Kyle's turn this week.
Yes, it is my turn this week. Last week we had a wonderful story about diving and death.
Wonderful.
And just like this podcast is, as random as it possibly could be, this week I have a wonderful story about a man named Mansa Musa.
Mansa Musa?
Mansa Musa.
Mansa Musa. I don't think I have heard of this person.
What? This is a pretty... So when you think of like rich people, Jeff Bezos, let's say, times that by like 150.
What?
Yeah, this guy's nuts. So they call him like the richest man in history, even though there's no technical way to quantify his wealth because he's from like the 1300s.
Oh, okay.
So like, yeah, it's not current.
I thought, didn't it used to be like the Carnegies or something?
Yeah, they were one of them, but they were probably richest at their time. I think this guy was the richest ever in history.
Okay. Okay. Like, in proportion to whatever
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess...
economy was like then.
He was the 10th Mansa, which translates to Sultan, conqueror, or emperor of the Mali Empire, an Islamic West African state. He has been described as the wealthiest individual of the Middle Ages. So, yeah, I guess it would be considered the Middle Ages at that time.
Like
but
the 1500s? Oh, no, you
13s,
said 13s.
yeah.
13th century or 1300s?
1300s.
Okay.
At the time of Musa's ascension to the throne, Mali in large part consisted of the territory of former Ghana Empire, which Mali had conquered. The Mali Empire consisted of land that is now part of the Mauritania and the modern state of Mali. During his reign, Musa held many titles, such as Emir of Mali, Lord of the Mines of Wangara, and Conqueror of Ghanata.
What?
Yeah. Did you like my accent on that last one? Ghanata?
Did you say that right? Is that the
Yeah.
right pronunciation?
Yeah. Well, it's like Ghana, but Ghanata.
Okay.
I had to look up a lot of translations for this story, so bear with me. It's pretty difficult as I keep going.
So how did he get rich?
Musa conquered 24 cities, along with their surrounding district. During Musa's reign, Mali may have been the largest producer of gold in the world, and Musa has been considered one of the wealthiest historical figures. However, modern commentators such as Time magazine have concluded that there is no way to accurately quantify Musa's wealth. So he ruled 24 different cities that were heavy into gold mining.
And it were like rich sources of gold, apparently.
Yeah, so like all of them were like
So
gold.
this is like modern day Middle East, like where?
Yeah, it's all in Africa. So all
The top,
like
like,
Ghana,
North
Mali,
Africa.
yeah.
Okay.
So like that whole like I guess
Curve
like western
part.
curve,
Okay.
yeah. So he was pretty heavy up in there. But so that's like the setup. Now let's get into it. How did he become ruler? What is known about the kings of the Malian Empire is taken from the writings of Arab scholars. Again, excuse the pronunciations here. According to Ibn Khaldun's comprehensive history of Malian kings, Mansa Musa's grandfather was Abu Bakr Keita, a nephew of Sundiata Keita, the founder of the Malian Empire as recorded through oral histories. Abu Bakr did not ascend to the throne, and his son who's Musa's father, Fagale, has no significance in the history of Mali. So his grandfather basically never made it to the throne, but was, up there. And his actual father didn't. He's just some dude.
So how did he get the throne?
Mansa Musa came to the throne through a practice of appointing a deputy when a king goes on his pilgrimage to Mecca or some other endeavor, and later naming the deputy as their heir. So, like, when a king leaves the throne to go on their journey.
How long does the pilgrimage last?
Well, it didn't say, but Mansa Musa's pilgrimage was just 1 year.
So when he came back, did he have to step down again, or what?
So,
this is actually kind of interesting because when we learn about the Middle Ages, it's like all European history. Yeah. I've never even thought about like African history or Middle Eastern history in the 1300s.
Yeah, it's usually like European history in medieval times, and then some like China and in
a
the
little
Asias,
bit, yeah,
but never in Africa. You never hear what's going on. Which is super interesting. According to primary sources, Musa was appointed deputy of Abubakari Keita II, the king before him, who had reportedly embarked on an expedition to explore the limits of the Atlantic Ocean and never returned.
Oh.
So he was appointed deputy while the king before was on his journey, or his what do they call it? Sorry, his expedition. And then he never returned. So they must have something happened.
Or something.
Yeah, they don't really know.
That's interesting because I thought usually like the king would send somebody to go on the expedition for them. Like they wouldn't actually go.
Yeah, so a part of this culture is you go as king.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. I was like, oh, it's like a...
Not like you risk your lives to figure out what's out there for us.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go too.
So yeah, he was appointed deputy. The king before him never returned. So the Arab-Egyptian scholar Al-Umari quotes Mansa Musa as follows. So this is just a quote from some guy. I can't say it's 100% accurate, but the ruler who preceded me did not believe that it was impossible to reach the extremity of the ocean that encircles the earth. So they meaning the Atlantic, and wanted to reach that end and obstinately persisted in the design. So he equipped 200 boats full of men, as many others full of gold, water, and victuals, sufficient enough for several years. Oh, he ordered the chief admiral not to return until they had reached the extremity of the ocean, or if they had exhausted the provisions and the water.
So do they think that they sailed off the edge?
Yeah, maybe that's probably a popular opinion then. They set out. Their absence extended over a long period, and at last only one boat returned. On our questioning, the captain said, "Prince, we have navigated for a long time until we saw the midst of the ocean as if a big river was flowing violently. My boat was the last one. Others were ahead of me. As soon as any of them reached this place, it drowned in the whirlpool and never came out. I sailed backwards to escape this current, but the Sultan would not believe him. He ordered 2,000 boats to be equipped for him and for his men, and 1,000 more for water and victuals. Then he conferred on me the regency during his absence, and departed with his men on the ocean trip, and never returned, nor to give a sign of life." So they all just...
2,000 boats?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that sounds
made up?
A little bit of an extrapolation.
Yeah. Why?
2,000 boats left and just never came back? I don't know.
It's a lot of boats.
Seems a little...
Extreme
to
Imagine
me.
if you saw 2,000 boats.
What do you think the whirlpool was? Like an actual whirlpool?
Or
hurricane? A hurricane?
Yeah. Because that would just destroy the boats. See ya.
Yeah. I don't know what the boats in 1300s look like, but I don't know if they would withstand that type of hurricane.
Yeah. Or maybe because there are actual whirlpools. What?
Yeah, but I don't know what causes those. I'm not sure what causes... Okay, here we go. Whirlpool.
What causes whirlpools? We're looking it up.
A whirlpool is a body of rotating water produced by opposing currents or a current running into an obstacle. Interesting. But I don't know, like, about them occurring in just the
open
middle
ocean.
Of the
Yeah,
ocean.
yeah.
I know that water spouts are a thing. Is it gnarly?
And the Atlantic is a pretty turbulent ocean of the oceans.
Is it?
I feel like it's kind of gnarly. Musa was a devout Muslim, and his pilgrimage to Mecca made him well known across Africa and the Middle East. So now he's already in power because the previous king had never shown up. He never came back. So now he's in power, and he's going on his journey. Musa made his pilgrimage between 1324 and 1325. His procession reportedly included 60,000 men, all wearing brocade and Persian silk, including 12,000 slaves who each carried 1.8 kilograms, 4 pounds, of gold bars, and heralds dressed in silks who bore gold staffs, organized horses, and handled bags. Musa provided all necessities for the procession, feeding the entire company of men and animals. Those animals included 80 camels, which each carried 50 to 300 pounds of gold dust. So each camel
What?
had
Why?
like 300 pounds of gold dust. Why not?
Why did he take it with him? Like, what?
Yeah. What is going on? What if he was robbed? All right.
Well, there's like 60,000 men to fight off the robber.
So the reason he carried all that, Musa gave the gold to the poor he met along his route. Musa not only gave to the cities he passed on the way to Mecca, including Cairo and Medina, but also traded gold for souvenirs. So he was just on vacation.
Are you sure this guy is real?
Yeah. There's writings
It
about
sounds,
it. Sounds
like
fake.
like a religious story or whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, it was just, he's like the African Jesus.
That's
Just
what
like
it sounds
spreading
like,
good
yeah.
wealth. Yeah. Which, him being so generous is kind of odd for those days. I mean, I guess he just had so much that it just didn't
What do you mean
matter.
for those days? People aren't generous now.
True. Very, very true. It was reported, so this is a gnarly fact. It was reported that he built a mosque every Friday.
What?
He just built a mosque
All right,
every
Friday, guys. Let's
Get to
fire
work.
it up.
Yeah. Musa's journey was documented by several eyewitnesses along his route who were in awe of his wealth and extensive procession, and records exist in a variety of sources, including journals, oral accounts, and histories. Musa is known to have visited the Mamluk Sultan of Egypt, Al-Nasir Muhammad, in July 1324. Because of his nature of giving, Musa's massive spending and generous donations created a massive 10-year gold recession. So, giving it all away, it wasn't in circulation. People just held it, I think. I think that's
Yeah.
what they're saying. And so, there was no more being in the economy.
It didn't really work.
Yeah,
way
it
that he
kind
wanted
of
it to.
backfired. Yeah, because he gave so much away. In the cities of Cairo, Medina, and Mecca, the sudden influx of gold devalued the metal significantly. Prices of goods and wares became greatly inflated. This mistake became apparent to Musa on his way back from Mecca, and he borrowed all of the gold he could carry from the moneylenders in Cairo at high interest. This is the only time in recorded history that one man directly controlled the price of gold in the Mediterranean. So, so he had so much, he controlled finance in the Mediterranean.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is this like one of the first examples of like inflation?
Monopoly, basically. Yeah. I don't know if it's one of the first, but it's a very early. So yeah, there was so much
example of like, give everybody everything.
It's like
and
what
then
happened
it kind
in-
of didn't work when
yeah.
they started in what was it, the Great Depression, where they're just print more money.
Yeah,
it'll
like that would
and
work.
then people were like burning it
that's
for
what-
fire because it was
pointless.
more
It was
valuable
worthless.
to
Yeah.
have a warm fire than to have money.
Yeah, it's like what happened more recently in Venezuela, where I don't know if they printed more money or it just became so devalued that people were using it as toilet paper because it was more valuable as toilet paper.
Wasn't it because
than
like
to spend
prices of goods were going up like exponentially? Nobody could afford it because their money wasn't worth anything.
Yeah,
but
like,
also prices
for
were
instance,
like
like
increasing insanely.
Yeah, for like a water bottle be like 1 million something or other. And it's just like that is your money's not holding your weight at all. Some historians believe the Hajj Hajj, was less out of religious devotion than to garner international attention to the flourishing state of Mali. So they're saying that it wasn't necessarily out of goodwill. He just wanted attention to be brought upon him. But that's just hearsay. Who knows?
Okay. Well, people are still being helped anyway, so...
Or hurt.
I don't know.
Yeah, or hurt. I'm not sure. The creation of a recession of that magnitude could have been purposeful. After all, Cairo was the leading gold market at the time, where people went to purchase large amounts of gold. That's where a lot of industry was. In order to relocate these markets to Timbuktu or Gao, Musa would have to first affect Cairo's gold economy. So he wanted to so this is saying he wanted to crush their economy to move trade centers over to his cities.
Oh, okay.
Which, very smart. Like, if that's what you want to do. Musa made a major point of showing off his nation's wealth. His goal was to create a ripple, and he succeeded, so much so that he lands himself and Mali on the Catalan Atlas of 1375. Now we're going to dive into his later reign and return. During his return journey from Mecca in 1325, Musa heard news that his army had recaptured Gao. Gao.
That's the Egyptian city center.
The city of Gao had been within the empire since before Sakura's reign and was an important, though often rebellious, trading center. Musa made a detour and visited the city, where he received as hostages the 2 sons of the Gao king. So he just took the king's sons as hostages, which is pretty bold. Ali Kolon, Kolon, and Suleiman Nar, Nar. He returned to Niani with the 2 boys and later educated them at his court. When Mansa Musa returned, he brought back many Arabian scholars and architects. So he just took the king's son, brought scholars back, architects. He just basically ransacked them of their scholars.
Took the smart people.
Yeah, took all the smart people for himself. Construction in Mali. With those architects, Musa embarked on a large building program, raising mosques and madrasas.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he building more mosques every
Friday? Raising mosques and madrasas in Timbuktu and Gao.
What's a madrasa?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I looked this up. Madrasas are the Arabic word for any type of educational institution. So like a school, basically. Most notably, the ancient center of learning, Sankor Madrasa, with an H at the end, or University of Sankor, was constructed during his reign. So he built a college that still stands there, today. Mm-hmm.
Which I have never heard of.
Me neither. So you see, again,
talk about African history.
Yeah, it's insane.
We don't talk about African history at all. The only history we talk about is South Africa,
What? Like the apartheid?
Yeah.
Apartheid?
That's the only one.
Yeah.
It's the only, event in Africa that we talk about.
You know why? It's because of white people. In Niani, Musa built the Hall of Audience, a building communicating by an interior door to the royal palace. So I'm not sure what that means, but I think it's like a room that leads into his palace.
Okay.
I tried to look it up.
Wait, so say the word again?
In Niani, Musa built the Hall of Audience, a building communicating by an interior door to the royal palace. It was an admirable monument, so it's like a monument before you go, or like a room before you go into the palace.
Okay.
Surmounted by a dome and adorned with arabesques of striking colors.
That sounds pretty.
Yeah, sounds really awesome.
Do you have pictures?
So this is like the ornate design.
Oh, yeah.
Arabesque.
Oh, arabesque.
Yeah. Sorry, you guys aren't going to see that, but you can look it up. It's ARABESQUES. of striking colors. The wooden window frames of an upper story were plated with silver foil. Those of a lower story were plated with gold. Like the Great Mosque, a contemporaneous and grandiose structure in Timbuktu. So
it's grandiose. It's not grandiose.
I said grandiose.
I think when I just read it, like on paper in my head, I
Grandiose.
just say grandiose. You know when you're like reading a book or something and you just see a word and you're like, I know that I'm not saying this right, but you just say it that way, like in your head to yourself the whole time.
It's hard when you get to stories like this, where a lot of this language isn't our own. It's not English. It's written in English, but it's hard to say all this.
Or it's
stuff.
like translated over and it kind of translates weird too.
Yeah, exactly. During this period, there was an advanced level of urban living in the major centers of Mali. Sergio Domian, an Italian scholar of art and architecture, wrote of this period, quote, "Thus was laid the fountain of an urban civilization. At the height of its power, Mali had at least 400 cities, and the interior of the Niger Delta was very densely populated." So just tons of cities, people living along the delta, and trade happening. It was popping. It was popping. Now let's get into a little bit of the economy and education of Mali during this period. Mansa Musa also brought architects from Andalusia, a region in Spain, and Cairo to build a grand palace in Timbuktu in the Great Djingabir.
What?
Yeah. So I'm sorry if you're listening. This is not.
I'm guessing the J is probably silent. Or the D is silent.
Okay, cool. Say it. With that in mind, say it.
Jingwerber. Jingwerber. I don't know.
Yeah, so that is impossible to say. Djinguereber.
Sound it out.
So that mosque still stands today. So something built in the 1300s is still standing today, which is nuts. Timbuktu soon became a center of trade, culture, and Islam. Markets brought in merchants from Hosseland, Egypt, and other African kingdoms. A university was founded in the city, and Islam was spread throughout the markets and university, making Timbuktu a new area for Islamic scholarship. News of the Malian Empire's city of wealth even traveled across the Mediterranean into southern Europe, where traders from Venice, Granada, and Genoa soon added Timbuktu.
Genovia.
Okay, that's not what it says. It says Genoa.
Do you know where Genovia is?
Yeah, it's over in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Genovia's the made-up place from the Princess Diaries.
Yeah, it's in Europe.
No, it's not real.
No, I know.
Okay.
I get the joke.
Okay.
I was playing along.
I didn't know if you got it or not.
Yeah, I was playing along.
All right.
Totally. So traders from southern Europe, the southern Europe cities, added Timbuktu to their maps for trading manufactured goods for gold and all that. So they are on the map for a European trade center in Timbuktu. The University of Sankore in Timbuktu was restaffed under Musa's reign with jurists, astronomers, and mathematicians. The university became a center of learning and culture, drawing Muslim scholars from around Africa and the Middle East to Timbuktu.
I need to look up where Timbuktu is on a map, just so I can have an idea. Timbuktu. It looks very cool. Ah, okay.
Let me see. Which photos are you looking at?
Just the Google Maps.
Yeah.
Okay.
See that structure?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to get into right now.
Yeah, because when I first looked up it's all pictures of this.
Yeah.
Looks like a sandcastle.
It does, with wood sticks in it.
Yeah.
In 1330, the kingdom of Mosi invaded and conquered the city of Timbuktu. Gao had already been captured by Musa's general, and Musa quickly regained Timbuktu, built a rampart and stone fort, and placed a standing army to protect the city from future invaders.
What is a rampart?
A rampart,
In my head, I just see a ramp.
a defensive wall of a castle or walled city, having a broad top with a walkway, typically a stone parcel.
So like the Great Wall of China?
Yeah, kind of. Or like any castle from European where they, like archers.
From European?
From European medieval times, since we keep referring to it. While Musa's palace has since vanished, the university and mosque still stand in Timbuktu today. By the end of Mansa Musa's reign, the Sankore University had been converted into a fully staffed university with the largest collections of books in Africa since the Library of Alexandria. The Sankore University was capable of housing 25,000 students and had one of the largest libraries in the world with roughly 1 million manuscripts. So, pretty big deal.
And the library's still there?
Well, the university's still there.
Okay, so the library's still there.
I don't know if it's like still the largest library. I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't really know.
We're not library pros.
I'm not a librarian.
Is there such thing as a library pro?
A librarian.
All right. Well, I'll take that. Now we're going to get into
Death. All right, tell me.
All right, you ready? It's actually pretty uneventful. So, the death date of Mansa Musa is highly debated among modern historians and the Arab scholars who recorded the history of Mali. When compared to the reigns of his successors, his son, Mansa Musa, recorded rule from 1337 to 1341, so not very long. And older brother Mansa Suleiman recorded rule from 1341 to 1360. And Musa's recorded 25 years of rule. The calculated date of his death is 1337. So he went on as...
was he, supposedly?
So they don't know. They don't know exactly.
Yeah, but like how old about did he live?
They don't know.
They have no idea.
He came from... There's no recorded history. There's no real recorded history. He just came out of the woods and took over. They know his rule.
He wasn't like 40 or 50? Like they have no clue?
Yeah, didn't say it at all. I looked everywhere.
But he ruled for 25 years?
Yeah, so I would assume he was like in his 50s.
Which is old for them.
Pretty old, yeah.
I think when you said 25 years, I was kind of surprised because that's a long time.
Well, when they're comparing the rules of the reigns of his successors, the like 4 years and like 13 years, 25 years is a long time to run a...
Also, what age do they usually come into power then? Like pretty young?
Well, it could have been like... That's
he could have been like 15 or he could have been like 25.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's pretty interesting.
I'm going to say 40s, 50s.
Okay. So we'll pick an actual age.
I'm going to say 40.
I'm going to say late 40s. Yeah, because I would
40s.
assume he would probably become, the deputy, assigned deputy, probably like late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, we just came up with it. That's our armchair theory. Other records declare Musa planned to abdicate the throne to his son Magan, but he died soon after he returned from Mecca in 1325. So
his son, so they didn't really live very long. Except for this guy, apparently ruling 25 years.
Yeah, they barely lived to 25, let alone ruling for 25 years.
Let's look up the average lifespan in the 1300s.
Okay. While you do that, I'll finish this little bit out. According to an account by one of the two scholar, Mansa Musa was alive when the city of Tlemcen in Algeria was conquered in 1337, as he sent a representative to Algeria to congratulate the conquerors of their victory. So that's how they're going, oh, he was still alive. It's because he sent somebody to congratulate them. But he could have lived past that, but they don't know. Mm-hmm. It's not recorded.
Okay, so average life expectancy for a male child born in the UK between 1276 and 1300 was 31 years. This is very specific.
Yeah, they didn't give a range.
I need like the whole world life expectancy, but let's just say about 30 years.
Damn, I would have died a while ago.
I would still be alive if I didn't die of the plague.
Or the dancing death.
Or the dancing plague.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Mass hysteria.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that they, I mean, I guess it makes sense. They didn't really take care of themselves. Ruling for 25 years is quite the feat.
Yeah. He could have done it if he started at 5.
No, because he he took his pilgrimage pretty quickly into his rule.
Oh, you have to be. How old do you have to be to take
So
the
he
pilgrimage?
There's no certain age, but I think it's right when you get in. Well, so
Get
he
in where?
To power.
Oh, sorry.
So if you think about it, let's say he ruled 25 years. He died in 1337. So he started ruling in 1312. Went on his trip in 1324.
He started ruling in 1312 and then went on his pilgrimage.
If he ruled for 25 years and he died in 1337, that means it was 1312.
Okay, so I'm confused just because you take your pilgrimage right when you get into power, but supposedly he took his pilgrimage like 12 years after he got into power?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's because I made up the right when you get into power thing.
What? Now I'm confused.
No, he just... Look, you have to put the shit together. It takes many, many years to get all the things in order. Remember the guy before him had 2,000 ships? You don't just have 2,000 ships. You got to start creating the ships. You got to...
I don't think he took his ships on his pilgrimage. That was just an expedition somewhere else.
Mansa Musa didn't. His predecessor did.
He took the ships on his pilgrimage? I thought it was a land.
Yes.
It's a land thing.
It's not a land. It's whatever you want.
You're going to Mecca.
You don't have to
How
go
do you
to
sail
Mecca.
to Mecca.
You don't have to go to Mecca.
I don't understand.
What do you mean? You just choose what you do. The other guy wanted to explore the ends of the ocean. He wanted to find...
Okay, but
so that was
Musa went to Mecca.
Musa went to Mecca, but the guy before him went into the Atlantic Ocean and died.
See, this is where I'm confused, is because I think that the pilgrimage to Mecca is separate from these expeditions.
Wait. You don't need to clap.
That was a good story, I think, just because that's definitely something that I was not any part aware of.
Yeah, I had seen something on it, and I thought it was interesting, kind of like how you mentioned that we don't really cover anything about medieval Africa. I mean, maybe we do a bit in Egypt because of the pyramids and things like that, but there's a whole other place.
Yeah, there's a lot more than just the pyramids.
For sure.
Goes on in Africa.
Yeah, and so it seems a little irresponsible of American history,
education system?
to completely exclude the largest continent in the world of most of their stories.
Where like human history evolved from in the middle of like Pangea.
It seems weird to go, nothing else happened. All right, well that's that, and I guess we will see you guys. Well, we won't see or hear you guys, but maybe you'll hear us next week on our next adventure that Macy takes us on.
Yep.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.